Myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot.
Based on the best available information, the suspect in custody is a foreigner. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniformed military shoot at American civilians.
People walking around with uniforms in an American city, there are some Americans that might object to that. And so apparently this shooting has happened.
That the National Guard and the military occupation is the first step into rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps.
Ladies and gentlemen, a horrific act happened yesterday. And, you know, some of us take for granted this Thanksgiving. We get to go home. We get to see our families. We get to have a nice dinner. But there are some people that are in mourning today over what happened in Washington, D.C. I want you to remember that a horrific action happened. An individual opened fire on 2 National Guardsmen. That's what we know so far. Initial report said that these 2 National Guardsmen had, or one is a woman, actually. Initial report said that they had passed away, but fortunately, this does appear to be false information. The latest that I've seen is that they are still in critical condition and they are having surgery. This individual was an Afghan national, according to sources that we have heard from, and also has some connections to the military and to the CIA. So very, very odd. And it's also kind of interesting to note the timing, because what just happened not too long ago. We kind of got to get a full picture of this. This is a foreigner, ostensibly connected in some way to the CIA, to military in some way, Afghan national, and it comes right after all of these senators, this seditious 6 came out and they told the military and intelligence individuals to disobey unlawful orders that Donald Trump was putting forth. So definitely stoking the flames. It's very, very interesting timing, to say the least. And it's very sad timing because it's right before the holidays. So I really feel for these families that are involved in this horrific act in our nation's capital. But this is what Donald Trump said, confirming that the individual who committed this act has been put in custody. Take a listen.
As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about.
Man, you can see the emotion or hear the emotion in his voice. I know he's reading from a teleprompter there, but Donald Trump does not sound happy whatsoever. But, you know, I wanted to get an idea of who the National Guardsmen and woman are. And they have been identified, and it looks like they're in critical condition. I pray to God that they are okay, because this is horrific to be, you know, serving your duty, doing your duty to the United States in the nation's capital, and you get attacked like this. I can't imagine the terror that they went through. Second National Guard member wounded in suspected terror shooting, ID'd as Sarah Beckstrom. The second West Virginia National Guard member wounded in a cowardly ambush by an Afghan refugee Wednesday has been identified as a newly sworn-in officer. So this individual, Sarah, she very, very new to the National Guard, apparently. And this, of course, is the suspect, the gunman, Ramanullah Lakanal, 29, came to the U.S. during the chaotic 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal. The brave guardsman was identified as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, Janine Pirro said at the press conference. And then the other guardsman was identified as 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. Both Sarah and Andrew were sworn in less than 24 hours before they were shot on the street in Washington. So say a prayer this holiday season for Sarah and Andrew doing their duty and get attacked in the street in the nation's capital. This is what Pete Hegseth had to say following the shooting. Take a listen.
Myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America. Heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic.
So apparently 500 additional National Guard troops are being added to Washington, D.C. And, I think this is warranted. When you have something like this going on where you have an Afghan national attacking National Guard troops, this is like the military. They had an Afghan national attack the military in our nation's capital. That's unheard of. So obviously this needs to be stamped out. They got to figure out if there's any other people that are involved in this situation, because if there are more individuals, or if these are some sort of sleeper cells or terrorist cells or what have you, I don't know. It's also convoluted right now. It needs to be taken care of. But Jack Posobiec kind of gave us an idea of where this attack took place. He says the shooting of the 2 West Virginia National Guard troops was just steps away from the Eisenhower building, where most White House staffers come and go all day. Take a look at this.
I did get a chance to speak with some members of the White House staff, and fortunately, we're told that many members of the staff who work right there in that EEOB, the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is just steps away from where the shooting took place, many of the staff had actually gone home already for the Thanksgiving break. We know, of course, Vice President Vance is down in Kentucky at Fort Campbell with his wife Usha. President Trump and Melania had headed down already to Mar-a-Lago. So a lot of the staff of the White House that you would see on a regular day that goes by this Farragut Square, Terrence. This is a main thoroughfare. This is a place where you can see a lot of staffers, a lot of people who work in the White House when they're going for lunch break, when they're leaving work, etc. This is a place where they are very frequently looking. I mean, I walk down there when I'm going into the White House, depending on, where I park the car or where I'm coming from. So this is a place that's very, very close to the White House. And had it not been the day before Thanksgiving, you could have potentially had White House staffers there.
So that's very interesting. It's odd how central this is in Washington, D.C. This wasn't in some like outskirts of town type situation. This was like right there in the middle of it all. And this guy just decides to walk into the city right by the Eisenhower building and open fire on 2 National Guardsmen. And this individual that we're talking about, the suspect that has been taken into custody, has been identified. It's hard for me to say his name, but this is what Fox News is saying. Who is the D.C. National Guardsman shooting suspect? What to know about Afghan national Ramanullah Lakhanwal. Ramanullah Lakhanwal is his name. Young guy, 29 years old, I believe. Ramanullah Lakhanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national, has been identified as the gunman accused of shooting 2 National Guard members just blocks away from the White House on the day before Thanksgiving. Lakhanwal was taken into custody Wednesday, while authorities said both Guard members were in critical condition, and they are investigating it as a possible act of terrorism. Lakhanwal entered the U.S. legally in 2021 under humanitarian parole as part of Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome. Following the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and the Taliban takeover of the country. And this, of course, is a very hot button issue for Donald Trump. Remember, he honored these individuals that were affected by this, the U.S. troops that were affected by this withdrawal. He honored them at the RNC. And you can tell, like, whenever he did that, he was very emotionally affected by Biden's botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. It was absolutely horrific. And I mean, it just makes no sense how he handled that situation. And then looks like we are still dealing with the reverberations of that botched withdrawal today. Well, yesterday, I guess. And, it's sad. The operation aimed to support and resettle vulnerable Afghans, including those that had helped U.S. troops in the past. The suspect reportedly had his asylum application approved during the Trump administration. Various intelligence sources told Fox News Digital that Leckenwall had a prior relationship with various entities in the U.S. government. And this is what I wanted to get to next, because this is also very interesting. This is not just a random person, it appears. Alleged National Guard shooter worked with U.S. government entities in Afghanistan, including the CIA. This is coming from Ratcliffe, the current chief of the CIA. Ramanullah Leckenwall entered the United States on the heels of the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan in August 2021 under the Biden administration. Leckenwall arrived in the U.S. a month later under Operation Allies Welcome. We've already went through that. Intelligence sources told Fox News that Leckenwall had a prior relationship with various entities, including the CIA, due to his work as a member of a partner force in Kandahar. Quote, in the wake of the disastrous Biden withdrawal from Afghanistan, the Biden administration justified bringing the alleged shooter to the United States in September due to his prior work with the U.S. government, including CIA, as a member of a partner force in Kandahar, which ended shortly following the chaotic evacuation. CIA Director John Ratcliffe told Fox News Digital. Quote, the individual and so many others should have never been allowed to come here, Ratcliffe continued. Our citizens and service members deserve far better than to endure the ongoing fallout from the Biden administration's catastrophic failures. So that is the connection that we have between this individual and the CIA. It's all very murky, all very interesting, sad. But this guy, not only is he an Afghan national, a foreigner who was brought in here after the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, but he also was a part of the CIA. Guys, you can't make this up. This stuff, it's like par for the course. What is this guy, some sort of like MK Ultra mind control guy? Oh, man. But this is not the only thing. Of course, we have the obvious. That kind of goes into the realm of conspiracy theory with his connection to the CIA and the dark underbelly of the intelligence agencies. We can only speculate as to what goes on there. But one thing we do know for sure, and this is absolute fact, is that leading up to all of this, leading up to this tragic situation, Democrats were stoking fear about Donald Trump and his utilization of the military to invade different cities in the United States. Remember the seditious six that told members of the military and the intelligence community, hey, if you are asked to do something unlawful, remember, you can disobey unlawful orders. And then there were also some of these senators that came out and said, listen, if you go along with these, and they characterize them as unlawful orders of Donald Trump, when we get in power, when the Democrats take power, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be under the hammer. You're going to be court-martialed, or you're going to be facing legal problems. So they're putting some of these military members and men and women in a tough spot, because they're saying, like, listen, you better watch your back, because we're going to be coming for you after we take power, or if we take power after Donald Trump. So it's very kind of a powder keg that we find ourselves in. And this is kind of the context surrounding this shooting. And this is why it's all very interesting. This is from New York Post. Lefty politicians for months have loudly condemned the deployment of National Guard troops in crime-ridden Democrat-run cities as authoritarian and an invasion leading up to Wednesday's ambush attack that left 2 guardsmen fighting for their lives. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Representative Jamie Raskin in August accused President Trump of inflicting a textbook authoritarian maneuver. So this is what they're characterizing this as. After he announced plans to deploy the National Guard to Washington, D.C., calling the city's crime problem a phony manufactured crisis. Then, of course, we have Mr. Donut Man here, Governor J.B. Pritzker, who Donald Trump calls a big fat slob. Yes, I'm quoting here. That's what Trump called him. And, you know, when Trump said that, I had my lie detector. I had it turned on, and there were no lies detected. I'm just saying that. But J.B. Pritzker, who has frequently sparred with President Trump over his desire to station National Guard troops on Chicago streets, accused the president of staging an invasion of his state just 2 days before the assault on a pair of West Virginia National Guard troops outside a D.C. metro station. And this is the one I think that is extremely pertinent because this just happened. Michigan Senator Elisa Slotkin went so far as to make her, or to say it makes her incredibly nervous that deployed federal troops can one day shoot at American citizens during an appearance on ABC's This Week. And of course, Elisa Slotkin is one of these seditious 6. And I want to bring you to this. And we have a list of these Democrat individuals kind of characterizing Donald Trump's deployment of National Guard and, of course, ICE as an attack on America, as authoritarian, as Nazi. But this is what that article was referring to. This is Elisa Slotkin saying it makes her extremely nervous that Donald Trump is doing this. Take a listen to this.
Look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, look at these videos coming.
Very ominous. So she is on camera saying that she's worried that these National Guardsmen are going to shoot at American citizens. That is some crazy rhetoric for her to spew, for her to say. And then that's just a few days ago. And then all of a sudden we have this attack on these National Guardsmen. This rhetoric that these Democrats are spewing is dangerous. And this, if they don't tone it down, this is not going to be the last time this happens. This thing is going to start happening more and more frequent. I can see it just now. Tim Pool put this out, and this is absolutely crazy. This was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Take a look at this. This is a billboard that said, "Did you go airborne? Just to pull security for ICE." And then it has a website, notwhatyoussignedup.org. And then it takes you to this page right here, this website, not what you signed up for. You saw the billboard. You have questions. You are not alone. But first, here are proactive steps you can take to reduce risk. So they're trying to show these individuals that go to this website how to evade U.S. government. Be sure to access resources from a personal device, not a military or government computer, email account, phone, or Wi-Fi network. So basically saying that Donald Trump's administration is an enemy. They're a combatant of you, and you need to be protected from them to the extent where you have to hide all of your communications. Now, in general, I think this is true of government, but it's the whole context of the matter here. They are trying to create this kind of this emotion, like if you are in the military and you are seeing this stuff happen and you disagree with it, you have to reach out to us, but you can't just reach out to us. You have to hide your communication. And this is very dangerous for you to do because you're going to be like a whistleblower because Donald Trump is doing all these illegal things by sending in ICE and sending in National Guard. It also says use the Signal app for encrypted texts and calls. Use a VPN like NordVPN. This is what Tim Pool said. He said, "Holy F, look at the website. This is overtly illegal. I don't want to say outright civil war when there is a good chance foreign actors are doing this too. But holy F, Secretary of War needs to stop this and stop this now." So, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's all very dangerous. and some other clips of the media talking about this shooting in a very strange way. ABC's Aaron Katursky speculating on a motive in the shooting of the 2 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. I want you to take a listen to this and listen to how he describes it. It's very odd.
A focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted. If that's the case, it would fit with what we've been hearing from law enforcement officials for a number of months now, that some political flashpoints in the country, whether that's immigration policies by the administration, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, even amid a tenuous ceasefire, those kinds of flashpoints have made people in uniform, be they military, law enforcement, government officials, people in uniform have increasingly been targets. And that is going to be one focus of the investigation going forward, Kira.
So some political flashpoints. What are these flashpoints? Well, the fact that we have National Guard troops in some of these cities, the fact that we have ICE, we have Israel, Hamas, Israel, Gaza, these military operations that we are involved in, and those are the flashpoints. So they're trying to say, listen, this is a possible motive. These are all the possible motives. They're describing them as flashpoints. And, I think it's very interesting how one of those flashpoints are the fact that we have National Guard troops in some of these cities and ICE in some of these cities. And this just coincides with Alyssa Slotkin, Mark Kelly coming out in this video saying, listen, you've got to disobey unlawful orders. This is important. And then going out and doing their rounds on the news, talking about how what Donald Trump is doing is dangerous and authoritarian and Nazi. This rhetoric has been turned up a million times. And this is, of course, everyone knows, following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you would think that they would tone down the rhetoric, but that's not what they've done at all. It's absolutely crazy to me that these Democrats get to operate with impunity, spewing their nonsense, spewing their dangerous rhetoric, and they don't have any pushback. They get to call Trump and the Trump administration whatever they want, authoritarian. They get to call them dangerous. They're invading the United States, trying to create this whole idea that it's dangerous for ICE to deport illegal immigrants, which is what we voted for in the first place. That's one of the main reasons why I voted for Trump. I want all of these illegals to be kicked out of the country. I think they're ruining the country. Absolutely ruining the country. And then these Democrats get to go on the news and say that Trump is a Nazi and authoritarian, and he's invading our country because he's doing this. I don't think Trump is doing enough. I think these hype videos that the Department or the Department of Homeland Security are creating are just that. They're hype videos. I don't think that they are deporting enough illegal aliens. But it sure looks like it because they're creating these hype videos. But even with the low amount of illegals that they are deporting, these Democrats are doing this. They're crying out to the public saying that, oh, Donald Trump, he's doing something so horrible. We've got to stop him. It's authoritarian. It's so bad. And this is the danger in what the Department of Homeland Security is doing, the Trump administration is doing, because it doesn't matter if they are actually doing what the Democrats say they are doing. The Democrats are going to characterize it that way anyways. So might as well turn it up to 10 and completely wipe out the illegal immigrant population. As far as when I say wipe out, I mean kick them out and do it quickly and do it fast, because the Democrats are going to characterize you as this anyways. Don't take your foot off of the throttle. You need to lean into it. You need to accelerate these deportations. Now, take a look at this. This is just recently on CNN. That's what I'm saying with these news agencies talking about the Trump administration and their use of the National Guard, comparing them to a Nazi, saying that they're authoritarian, that this is dangerous. This is just recently on CNN, and this is this is not a abnormal thing. I just want you to realize this. This happens all the time. I'm sure you know this. But listen to this. CNN compared National Guard troops to Nazis, quote, creating military units to watch the people. Reminds me of Germany in the 1930s. And if you are a decent person, you know, what would you do? What is your whole view of Germany in the 1930s? Very horrible. And every person wants to think that they would have been the one that stood up and stood against the Nazis. So someone, the right person or the wrong person rather, gets that in their head. What do you think they're going to do? Take a listen to this.
What the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to, quite frankly, watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s.
So, absolutely disgusting. The rhetoric needs to calm down because we get stuff like this. It's starting to be obvious. We got Charlie Kirk, which was just mind-blowing because it was right there on the screen for everyone to see. I think the day that happened, I probably saw that video of Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck. Like, it had to have been like 500 times. Every time I went on Twitter, it was there, and it was horrific. We had Charlie Kirk, and now we have these National Guardsmen. It's very, very sad. Democrat leaders and activists claimed that the National Guard is rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps. Listen to this. This is exactly what they said.
We believe that the National Guard and the military occupation is the first step into rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps here in Washington, D.C. and around the United States of America. We believe that.
We believe that. Wait, what? So this guy in Washington, D.C., stoking the flames, saying that, oh, these National Guard troops, this is what they're really doing. This is what they're started. This is like their end goal. You know, I know they say they want to, help with the crime and they want to deport ICE. We got the ICE individuals wanting to deport these illegal immigrants. But what they really want to do is deport black people. Put them in detainment camps. For what? But you have these people standing up on these soapboxes saying these things, and it's a coordinated strategy because you have them saying this. You have people coming on CNN and saying Nazi Germany, 1930s. You have the Seditious Six, Alyssa Slotkin, Mark Kelly, and Jason Crow, and the other ones, I forget their names. They come on. They release a video saying you got to disobey unlawful orders from Donald Trump when there's not one unlawful order that they can point to. You have all these different Democrats coming out, and it's clearly coordinated. Something is bound to happen. It's a powder keg, and it's dangerous. And people are going to get hurt, and people are going to get killed. We've already had Charlie Kirk, and now we have two National Guardsmen, guards people, one woman, one man. So extremely, extremely dangerous situation we find ourselves in the holiday season. But this is the latest from Kash Patel. He came out. He talked about this, confirming that these troops are in critical condition, not passed away as of right now. Take a listen to Kash Patel.
Please send your prayers to those brave warriors who are in critical condition and their families. They are here serving our country. They are here protecting everyday Americans and citizens around the world in our nation's capital. They are the heroes of this day, and we must remember them on this day and every day, and their families and the sacrifice they have made. I will now turn it over to Chief Carroll of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, say a prayer for these families this holiday season. I mean, it's a horrific thing that they're dealing with. Very sad right before the holiday, right before Thanksgiving. Let me know what you think of this. What do you think is going on here? Is it interesting that this individual is connected to the CIA? Do you think it's a coincidence that this happened right after the Seditious Six came out and make that video? And do you find it odd how this rhetoric is increasing about what the National Guard is doing in these different cities? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.